to read our goals, or you're welcome to take volunteers. If you want to walk us through today's goals, that would be awesome. And then I'll run the warm-up.
All right, so today's goals. We're going to explain how reactant and products of cellular respiration are important to living organisms. What is the formula for photosynthesis? What gas is produced in photosynthesis? And where does photosynthesis take place inside the cell? And some of you might already know some of this. I have a feeling.
Yes.
We'll see.
I know, I'm feeling like that too. How do you guys feel about photosynthesis? Just give us a quick smiley face in the chat or in the poll. Maybe we can come in with some kind of baseline and get like thinking that we might feel moderately decent or like at least have some idea. I like this. I've got about 30 of you, so about half of you are participating. If I could get a few more on this Monday morning. If you're in here and you missed the question is, how do you feel about photosynthesis? You're like, yeah, I got this. I've heard of it. I might not be able to explain it, but I could expand on it a little bit. How do you feel? All right, still not everyone, but I will say that's presentable. So if you check out this poll, we've got a lot of happy and mez. Almost no, like I don't know what like photosynthesis is. So that's a great start. So I think that's a good place to start on a Monday morning, right? With some new content that might not actually be new. So I like it. Before we do that, let's get our brains going back to what cellular respiration is. What is cellular respiration? Because I feel like the word respiration is like throws us off if we're just using like word cues. What does it mean to go through cellular respiration? What are we doing in that process? Lizzie and I shared that like last week that like when we think of the word respiration, we think about breathing, right? Like respiring. And breathing out and in is important because we actually need oxygen and we put out carbon dioxide as like the product reactant part of the actual equation. But when it comes to what's actually happening, it's not really doing that. You're right, Cassandra. It is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is all about how cells make energy, or I said convert might be a better word, but make is 100% good for you to say. It's how they take sugar that are the carbohydrates that we put in our body and turn it into the currency in which our cells need it used, right? No, the currency in which our cells need. What kind of dollar bills do our cells use for energy to make things happen? What's that form of energy called? It's not the dollar bill, but yep. Cassandra's on fire. Everybody else type ATB because I need y'all with me. Cassandra's brain is awake. Yes, right? Does everybody remember that? We need ATP. It's great that we put in carbs and get all this glucose in our body, but now it's like, okay, I've got this glucose. I got to use it though, right? Just like we put gasoline in our car, but then our engine has to utilize it to do what it needs. Our body has to take in that glucose and then it has an engine. It processes it to get what it needs to go. Perfect. I know that it was a sad and shocking death, wasn't it? I always hate to hear that. But yes, our brains are waking up. So as a review, all right, we had glycolysis. Where does glycolysis, the first step of energy converting, happen? What's the what location in the cell? It was the first step. And we went to my kitchen last week and we started in one spot in my kitchen, then we moved around. Where does cellular respiration start? Cassandra. High fives. Yes, the cytoplasm, right? So we start in the cytoplasm, and that's where glycolysis happens. And that was that hard candy that we saw last week, right? Remember, we had that hard piece of candy that we broke into two pieces. And that was glycolysis. At the end of glycolysis, we had a couple pieces of ATP that we gained from that. But what else did we make in glycolysis that we pushed into the next process of cellular respiration? It was a really weird word. Does anybody remember that word? It was a type of acid. Those two pieces of candy became, and we got on mics and said it. Yes, pyruvate acid or pyruvic acid. Guys, can we just tell Cassandra how awesome she is? She's our brain for everyone this morning. She is remembering everything. Rockstar brain. All right, so we've got our two pieces of pyruvate, and we had ATP that we made in the cytoplasm right outside the mitochondria. Step 2 of cellular respiration. Hey, Rennie, be quiet, bunny bear. Step 2, we moved into the mitochondria. We took those two half pieces of candy into the mitochondria. And remember, we acted like we kind of put them like into my clock. And we took them around this cycle. And during that cycle, it just broke it down. It broke bonds. And when we break bonds, we release what? Break bonds, release what? There we go. Yes, we release energy. And with that energy, not only did we create 2 more ATP in the Krebs cycle, or another name for the Krebs cycle is the citric acid cycle. But what else did we make? We made another, what we call byproduct. So we made 2 ATP, but we made those, remember those cute little fruits? What were those little fruits? They were 4 letters. Does anybody remember? Blank, blank, DH. They are atoms. We made those 2 cute little fruits. Yes, there was NADH and FADH, right? Those were those cute little fruits. And we took them to what we said, took these NADHs and FADHs to the next process of cellular respiration, the final one, and we kind of called the electron transport chain, the final step, like our stairway of death, right? We took our NADH and our FADH, these cute little fruits, and we rolled them down the steps. And as they rolled down the steps, the tops popped off. And when the tops popped off, that equaled the bonds being broken. And the NADH and the FADH, they lost that cute little fruit top, which was that hydrogen molecule that was attached, which just means a bond was broke. And when bonds break, what is released? What is stored in those bonds? Yep, energy, that ATP. Remember, that's what that little spaghetti noodle was. Snap. All right. As we broke apart the NADH and the FADH, we were able to capture the energy from those bonds and make 34 ATP. All right. This is cellular respiration. This is what happens in the mitochondria of cells, of animal cells, and some plant cells. Now, today we're going to shift. All right, we're going to look at the same process, how we make ATP, but in plants and how they do that a little differently, as they don't munch on carbohydrates all day, but they sit outside in the sun. All right. So just like we had a chemical equation or a recipe, right? The ingredients and the products, just like we have the brownie mix, the oil, the eggs, the water, and then the brownies, the brownie box and the eggshell, we have the same kind of thing up here in this equation for photosynthesis. All right, we start with different ingredients, okay? So this would be like making the same thing but from different products. So like sometimes people are vegan and they don't eat eggs. So instead of eggs, they actually substitute it with like applesauce. All right? So these are like our applesauce brownies, all right? So we, instead of doing that, we are using some different ingredients to still get that ATP. So here you're going to see we get carbon dioxide, right? So we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. The plants do the exact opposite. They basically breathe in the carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. So they are going to take in carbon dioxide and water from their roots. Okay, so the roots bring up the water to the green leaves, and the green leaves actually have pores, just like pores in our face, right? Like where we get pimples. Our leaves actually are much like our skin, where they actually have pores, and those pores can open and close when they kind of are like the windows to our house, right? Mrs. Schaefer was talking about how last week it was so warm that she was able to sit with her windows open in the morning and it felt perfect. That's kind of like the plants. Like when it is a good day and there is good weather, they're going to open those pores and let that carbon dioxide in. All right, today we couldn't do that because it's freezing. I know. Nothing's better than like open windows with your curtains this kind of like barely moving in the breeze. So the only difference here is we use carbon dioxide, water, and light energy. And that gives us the glucose that plants need, all right, for their carbohydrates. I mean, instead of their carbohydrates. Now, I want you to look at the products. Do you see ATP in the equation? Yes or no? Do you see ATP? No. All right, so it's important to know that plant cells also go through cellular respiration. Plant cells still need to take the glucose and break it down and convert it into ATP. Cellular respiration in the mitochondria happens in both plant and animal cells. All right. The difference is where we get our carbohydrate, where we get the glucose. We eat our glucose. Plants aren't carnivores. They don't eat their carbs, but they still need that glucose. Where do they get the glucose? They get it from the process of photosynthesis. Okay? Does that make sense? I want to make sure we put that in our head. Photosynthesis gives us sugar. Okay? Photosynthesis gives us sugar. I want you to put photo. You don't have to type out photosynthesis. Photo, Photo, equals sugar. Everybody type that. Photosynthesis equals sugar. That is where we get our sugar. So we need to know this equation. Again, I have always said keep index cards by your desk area or wherever you do your learning. Pull out an index card right now and put photosynthesis equation. Flip it over. And what I want you to do is put this equation on there. All right, what do we need in photosynthesis? What do you need to make sugar? Well, you need carbon dioxide, you need water, right? 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 water molecules, and you need light energy. When you put those 3 things together, you get glucose and 6 oxygen. You can remember this pretty easily because it's the opposite of what we breathe in and out, right? It's the opposite of what we do. They take in that carbon dioxide, they suck up water for their roots, they get sunlight in their leaves, and then they produce glucose and oxygen. How do we feel about that? Green check, red X. Yes, I get this. Photosynthesis makes sugar. They make it with the ingredients. We mix up carbon dioxide, we throw that in the bowl, a little bit of water, throw that in the bowl, and then the sunlight, throw that in there, and we get those brownies with a little waste of oxygen. And it's not waste because we're like, as animals, we're like, ooh, we will take that waste. I will use that waste. I need you, right? It's perfect how we balance and need each other. All right, let's move to the next part of this that I think is important to understand. And that's the process of kind of how this works, how energy is captured in the mitochondria. No, I don't want to go here. No. This is just kind of reinforcing what we did here. All right, learning that the light energy goes and makes the glucose in photosynthesis. Then we push it to the mitochondria in the plant to undergo a conversion to get that ATP that the cell needs. They're like besties, okay? Let's go to a whiteboard. Let's draw a picture. You want to draw a picture? If you have a piece of paper and some crayons or markers or anything, get those suckers out right now. We're going to make this fun, okay? I want you to think of, we're going to draw a picture of the chloroplast inside a leaf, all right? So let's label it. Chloroplast inside, oh wow, inside a leaf. Who's drawing this with me? Who's drawing it? I mean, not on my board, but on your paper. All right. Darian's with me. Who else is drawing this? If you've got paint on your computer, pull it up in another window. Cassandra, Darian, Gracie, yay! Heidi's with me. All right. This is going to be fun. All right. We're like taking ourselves back to elementary school. So let's get out our pencils and let's see. I want to get a color. What color can I get? Like, let me choose. I want to. Is it only let me choose blue, red, and green? I really would like a different color. It might not let me. Okay, so we're going to use red for the sun.
Yeah, I think we're a little limited, unfortunately.
No, I'm like, I want yellow. Yeah. I want that. All right, so here's our sunshine. Everybody draw a sunshine. Dun, dun, dun. Here's our cute little sunshine. Isn't that like how every... Oh, yes. Okay, timeout. I can't even handle it. Double click it and we get more. I need to erase this for a minute. I'm obsessed with making the sun. Let's go to a new board. I'm obsessed with making the sun yellow. All right, here we go. Yellow sun. All right, every elementary picture starts out with a yellow sun in the corner of your screen, right? Here's our yellow sun. And I'm sure yours look better than mine do. Okay? There's our sun. I know, right? Don't you like, who doesn't? Oh, yeah, we got to draw a little smiley face in there. Like the happy sun. Like, who needs energy today? I would love to give you energy. All right, and now what we're going to do is draw a giant leaf. Okay? I don't know. Your leaf might look a lot better than mine because this is embarrassing. But here it is. There's my ginormous leaf. Let's make a stem to a plant. Here's our stem. All right, I know. Again, yours is better than mine is. All right, inside the plant is a little cell. There's a bunch of these cells. I'm going to just do it. Plant cells are rectangular. All right, so inside here, this green part is my plant cell. Okay, plant cell. And inside our plant cell, we're going to specifically look at the chloroplast. So I'm going to still make it green. I might just make it like a darker green. All right. What I want you to see inside the chloroplast is that there are stacks of pancakes. No lie, guys. We got stacks of pancakes. It looks kind of like this, kind of like a cylinder, like a coil almost. And I want you to think of each of those coils. I'm going to like enlarge one of these at the bottom as kind of like a pot. Okay. These are called thylakoids. So we got some thylakoid pancakes right here. Serving up some thylakoid pancakes. All right. We got some thylakoid pancakes, and instead of syrup, I mean, this is what we're going to actually envision. There's a liquid inside our thylakoid pancakes. So what that actually is called, and let's make it look kind of maple syrupy. You want to? Let's do it. Inside, oh, not eraser, undo, highlighter. Inside our on our thylakoid pancake, or in it, is what we are going to call the stroma syrup. Is it cool that they start with the same letter? Because I didn't do that on purpose. I should take more credit for that, but it's completely random. All right, we have the stroma syrup, but this stroma is the magic. I mean, who likes pancakes without syrup? Sorry if you do. Sorry, Lizzie. I just love maple syrup. Like, there's nothing better. Like, sometimes I put maple syrup in my coffee. You know, have you ever seen the Christmas movie Elf? It's about time to bust it out. Ooh, peanut butter on pancakes is good, but you still have to have the syrup. All right.
Didn't he just drink it out of the container on Elf? Didn't he do that?
What was that?
Didn't he just drink the syrup out of the container on Elf?
Oh, yes, he did, didn't he?
I don't know, but he poured it on everything.
I think he did.
Great, but...
I mean, I would probably do that. Like, yeah, I am to that level of love with maple syrup.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So we've got the stroma syrup on these thylakoid pancakes inside the chloroplast of our plant cells. And the stroma syrup is the magic that happens. Okay? Because it takes us back to, like, we're going back to elementary school again. Okay? Who remembers those lessons with a mirror in like physical science? I swear this is like 3rd grade. All right. When I look in the mirror, I see my what? What's it called? It starts with an R. Reflection, right? Reflection. We also talked about in the same class, right? You learned about reflection, but you also maybe looked at like putting a flashlight on a cup of water. And instead of just reflecting it directly, it was another one of those words that sounds like reflection, but it's when the light goes into the water and the water bends it. Yes, refraction. Yes, you guys remember refraction? Who remembers refraction? Tell me, give me a green check if you remember refraction. Like, reflection is like the light goes in and it bounces right back out, and it's the exact same image of you. It's exact, right? Refraction was when the light went into or a material, and then that material bent it and sent it back out. So refraction. If you remember refraction, that's exactly what happens. All right, this is exactly what happens in the stroma syrup on our thylakoid pancake inside the chloroplast of a plant cell. Like, you're so smart. Yes, Xander, you're exactly right. The light hits like the glass from an angle and it refracts it. It changes its direction just a little bit. It bends it. So what happens is that the sunlight is like the light, right? Because plants are outside or under light, and they're out there and they're like sunbathing. They're putting their pancakes in the sun with their stroma syrup. And what that sunlight does is it goes and it hits that stroma. And when it hits that stroma syrup, it doesn't reflect right back out at the same wave. It doesn't do that. It does refraction. It gets in there and it says, ooh, this is a sticky, gooey mess, and bounces back out another way. Does that make sense? And what happens is when that refraction happens inside that stroma, it slows that wave of energy down. All right? Because this is energy. This is a wave. It's coming like a car that like is going 55 miles an hour down the highway. And what happens when you hit a turn in the highway, like an exit ramp? What do you always see posted by the exit ramp? A change in what? Speed. Yeah, I went down to Dayton yesterday for a soccer game, and when we went off, I was like going 70 miles per hour, but the exit ramp was actually a speed limit of 35. So like you had to dramatically change your speed. What do you think happens in the stroma when that light wave bends and it goes off that exit ramp and it slows down? Guess what that stroma captures? When that sun ray loses speed, yes, it loses energy, right? Just like we have to put that brake on, you're stopping your car, right? You're pumping the brakes. That you're losing energy when you pump your brakes. And that's exactly what's happening in the stroma. They're capturing energy from the sunlight through refraction by changing the speed. And so that jelly syrup-like substance is the important factor because it changes the speed, right? So the sunlight refracts, and that equals energy is lost in the stroma. And what that energy goes to is the bond in glucose. Okay, so the ingredients, those atoms for glucose, are all hanging out here on the thylakoid pancake, kind of like chocolate chips and sprinkles, or pecans, like toppings for your pancakes. All right, those toppings are going to be your carbon, right? So your carbon are your sprinkles, your hydrogen, C6H12O6. Your carbon would be maybe some pecans that you top it with, and maybe your oxygen is some peanut butter. You guys like peanut butter, right? They're all hanging out on the top of those thylakoid pancakes, just waiting for that refraction to happen. And when that happens, we capture the energy in the stroma and make glucose. Does that make sense? I know that sounds absolutely crazy. You go tell somebody at your dinner table tonight that, and they're going to be like, you are wacky, right? But listen, guys, if it makes sense in here, it's going to stay in here. If it makes sense in our heads, it's going to stay there. So if you are a meth face right now, which not everybody is. If you're a meth face today, I want you to take this diagram and make it yourself. All right? The energy from the sunlight is refracted. All right? The energy from the sunlight is refracted in the stroma. And that's how we get the glucose on the other side. I am with Mrs. Schaefer. I know you guys can have way better artistry than what I displayed on the screen today. And you know what? I actually believe that you guys can learn better from each other than you can me. So I think some of your diagrams would actually help one another. So I would love it too. If you would email either Mrs. Schaefer or I these diagrams, we would love to see them. We would love to share them. I would love for you to explain this tomorrow, somebody different on Tuesday and Wednesday using their diagram. And maybe you don't want to explain it, and that's fine too. You can send it to me and I will not put you on mic in front of the classroom, I promise. But I would love to see some of your depictions of this. All right. I hope art time helped you. All right. The refraction of the sunlight is the crucial part. Yeah, I would love you to share your comic strip. Do you want to do it at the end of class today, Lizzie, or no? Sure. Perfect. So let's go back to this other screen while Lizzie pulls up her comic of cellular respiration. I'm going to finish with a review question, and then Lizzie's going to end class by sharing. I love this. I think it's so good when we can do these things together. Let me do... let's do these questions really quick. I usually have you read, but for time's sake, so Lizzie can do this, I want to quickly do this. Where does photosynthesis take place in the cell? Where does it take place? Photosynthesis. Mitochondria, chloroplast, nucleus, or the upper epidermis. Epidermis means skin, so it would basically mean the cell wall of the plant. If you answered B, chloroplast, you are correct. Remember, photosynthesis happens in the chloroplast. We make sugar in photosynthesis, and then we take that sugar to the mitochondria for cellular respiration. Good. What do you notice about the relationship between photosynthesis and cellular respiration? Is it that they have the same products? Do they make the same thing? Yes or no? Do they have the same reactants? The same things go in? Are they the opposites? Where they feed each other their byproducts. Their waste is actually what the other person needs to start. Or do they happen in the same organelles? So pleasantly surprised to see so many of you choose the correct answer. The correct answer is C. C, right? Like the opposite. So for photosynthesis, right? It needs the carbon dioxide, whereas cellular respiration puts out the carbon dioxide. Photosynthesis, its waste product is oxygen. And guess what the mitochondria needs to start cellular respiration? It needs that oxygen to start it. So in a sense, it follows our respiratory system of putting out carbon dioxide, breathing in oxygen, just complementary. All right. Awesome. Lizzie, are you ready to share? Awesome. Let me pull up a whiteboard so you have a plain place to do that. And you can go ahead and share with us. Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. I was waiting for you. I didn't realize that wasn't in there. Here you go. You should have permissions. We also have a quiz at the end of today. So you're going to want to take your chloroplast to share. I need to be a moderator. I gave you permissions here. I'm just going to give you every permission I can possibly give you. See if that helps. I gave you shared screen. If it's not letting you share your screen, which it should, you could, there you go, copy and paste it.
Wow, this is fancy. I'm impressed.
Oh, do you want to walk us through it on mic, Lizzie? Oh, it's gone. No. That was so good. Let me see. Can I come back? There it is.
So the girl that's in there is actually the storyboard version of me that I did. And yes, I did do this with the storyboard that I fiddled around with it before, so I couldn't get the hexagon though, so I actually just took 2 trapezoids, flipped one, and put them together to make the shape that I needed. And then I just took 2 circles for here and all these, and I was able to use the diamond shape, so. And I just thought these scenes looked nice.
I love it. It's so perfect. I love that it shows that you have the ingredients that, like, for cellular respiration, like, we see her sugar and her oxygen, and then we go over here to the oven, and you see how she's putting them in there, letting them bake. Like, that's that arrow in the equation, right, of them actually processing, and then the actual end with that ATP and the water and the sugar, showing you how that whole thing through the process of glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. This is the whole picture then at the end of what is left. So, Xander, this was...
Well, thank you for letting me share.
Yes!
Sorry, I was just going to say something real quick about the storyboard. If you click on the... So to get the oven open, I clicked on the scene, and then all over here along the side with the storyboard thing, it'll have this thing that says edit scene, and you can open, and so I decided to open the oven and put one of the ingredients in it. That's just a little tip if you want to.
Absolutely. I think Lizzie's going to be our in-house expert for the comic strip making. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And I would love to see someone's comic strip, or I would really love to see their chloroplast drawing of how that refraction of the sunlight in the stroma helps us get the energy that plants need to make sugar. I would love to see that tomorrow as well. So yes, what you're going to have due today by noon is going to be the 3.20 quiz, or I think it might be the mid-unit. Is it the mid? No, it's respiration and photosynthesis quiz is what will be due today. All right, so it's 3.20. We've reviewed some of those questions in class. So make sure you jump in there and get that done today. Remember, as always with all of our lessons, this is a great place where learning happens. But in order for it to go to your permanent memory, for you guys to really get this to go home, right, to stick up here, you're going to have to practice on your own. So this is a way to level up. Make some of those flashcards like I mentioned earlier in class. Play a game. This is a review photosynthesis game you can play, and that can help you. Maybe you're a reader and you're just going to go back and reread that content, and that's going to help you. Maybe you need to make that photosynthesis drawing today like we did in class, right? Go back and do it again if you didn't do it, or do it again if you already did it. Perfect it, make it beautiful. Add all those different labels. Maybe you need to just go back and watch the recording and you're like, what was all of this about pancakes and syrup and refraction? I don't know. Maybe you need to go back and listen to this lesson again today, or complete that as quiz, that assignment. Those are all ways that you're going to level up, take it from that triangle that we talked about at the beginning of class, that lower level of understanding to that upper level of understanding. And as we increase our understanding on this triangle, we also put it more in our long-term memory. So yes, I am done. I know it's late today, but I feel like we did a great job reviewing. We did a great job hitting photosynthesis, and I'm excited to see how you're going to level up this week. So go ahead, note maybe with your pointer before you leave what you're going to do for your next step, and I will see you tomorrow morning.
Great job, everybody. Bye.